All right, so listen, if your marketing isn't working, if it's not bringing in the kind of clients that you really want to work with, or it just feels like it's taking too long, or it just feels like a big slog to even land the clients, then it's going to be because of one of these six reasons that I'm going to get into. Or it could be a combination of one of these reasons. But after having worked in marketing for 25 years in various capacities, both on visual branding side as well as the brand messaging work, which is what I focus on these days, I can tell you it will come down to at least one of these six things that's gone awry, something that's not working. So, again, if you're having issues with your marketing, you want to consider which one of these six things or which combination of things is really at play here, like what's happening. So the number one, and the first one I want to start with because it is probably the most common problem, is that there is no ideal client specificity. So what I see happen is people think they've niched down, but they really haven't. Their niche is still very broad. So for example, you may have decided, I'm going to work with clients in the health and wellness space. Well, the health and wellness space is massive. And even within, let's say you want to work with like yoga in the yoga space. Well, even that's still too broad because are we talking working with yoga practitioners? Are we talking with yoga product businesses? Are we talking with yoga instructional organizations? Like there's a lot inside, so you can just see how you can niche and niche and niche and niche down. And the whole concept of niching is a whole other topic to get into in another day. But what I do see is people attempting to niche and get specific about their audience, but they actually are not. And here's the other issue when it comes to a lack of ideal client specificity is people who are trying to hold on to a legacy client type while also trying to appeal to a new client type. So in essence, you have two audiences. And this can be extremely challenging from a messaging standpoint, especially if that's not your thing, right? Like if you don't have a lot of experience or understanding about how messaging works, and trying to message to two audiences at the same time means you're going to be too broad and vague. And that's number two. Number two reason why your marketing is not working is because you have no messaging resonance, which really what it means is you're too vague, you're too generic, you're boring, and you're not making an emotional connection to the ideal client type, your ideal client type. Because of that lack of specificity, you're unable to use lingo that they use. You're unable to point to details that are specific to their world, things that, that they will just immediately recognize as like, oh, you are someone who gets me, who understands me. You can't have that and that baked throughout all of your messaging until you have specificity on your audience. So number one and two go together. But I do see people who have identified their ideal client and yet they just have not been able to create that resonant messaging because there's just still too much genericness out there. So that's number two. So number three reason why your marketing may be failing is because you have no strategy. Without strategy, meaning you've got a specific set of activities and a plan for those that aligns to your business model, your business goals, and you yourself as the marketing person for your business. If you're out of alignment in those areas, so you don't have a plan essentially, then what it leads to is just doing stuff kind of ad hoc and whatever it works to do it, right? And so what I see happen here is people are very busy in their businesses. You get really busy and then marketing falls by the wayside. And especially with no strategy around that, then when you're doing stuff and you're not seeing results because of a lack of strategy, it's just like spaghetti on the wall, you're not very motivated to continue with the marketing. So that's number three. Number four is you have no established workflows for publishing your content. So the strategy is really speaking to having like starting to put some systems in place, right? So without the systems, everything is kind of last minute. It's undelegatable. And then therefore, even if you're generating your ideas, whether that's through written form, video, audio, getting that out in front of people without workflows around that, without tools and people to help you get that out in front of people. And number 5 is there's no fuel for the system. So even if you get a system set up, you've got to feed the system. The system's like an engine, and an engine needs gas to run. So in this case, when you're marketing, your gas is the content that you're feeding it. So how often are you, posting or writing emails or delivering video or audio content, or just being out there in the public space, continuing to build those connections and the credibility and the visibility and all that kind of stuff. That requires a continual output of content. And this is a huge area where people fall down, because that without a system around that, it can feel so overwhelming, especially when you're extremely busy. And even in the back of your mind, when I've got to keep up with my marketing, if you don't have a method for continuing to generate the fuel that needs to go into your system, the system can't work. Okay, so that's number 5. So number 6, the last reason why your marketing may be failing, is your mindset. So this is where the rubber meets the road. If you come into your marketing effort hating selling, feeling weird about promotion, not wanting to bother people, nervous about rejection and visibility and all that kind of stuff, okay, that's fine. You can feel the feelings, but if you allow those to hold you back from doing the things, mindset work around that. And ultimately, really everything in your business is going to come down to the mindset. It's like, what are our underlying beliefs that are driving the behaviors that are then leading to the results that we're getting? It's really going to come down to mindset. So I should list mindset as number 1, but ultimately it's if you've got everything else working when it comes to marketing, but it still is not producing, then you need to look at the mindset thing. So just to recap, number 1 is no ideal client specificity. Number 2 is no resonant messaging. You can't have that without number 1, or I should say, when you don't have number 1, that's going to lead to the problem with number 2, that your messaging kind of sucks. Number 3 is no strategy. So the efforting feels great, and the return is very little. Number 4 is no established workflows for publishing content. So getting it out there, out of your docs, out of your head, in front of people. No fuel for the system, meaning you don't have a way, you don't have a method for continuing to generate those ideas and then, get those out in front of people and continue to develop your thought leadership, your perspective, your unique take on things. And number 6, the final reason why your marketing might not be working, is mindset. So again, look at where things might be going wrong, and then consider, is it one of these 6 areas, or is it a couple of these areas, which very well could be the case. And that's going to help you point in the direction you need to go in order to start to fix things. Now, if you suspect that it's number 1 or number 2 for you, that is my specialty, is working with coaches, consultants, and creative professionals to help them figure out, how do I talk about my business? What do I say on my website, in my LinkedIn, everywhere where I'm showing up, even in person, when I'm having sales calls, like, how do I talk about this stuff? That's what I do. So I do encourage you to reach out to me so we can talk about your situation and see what your next steps are. Okay? So hopefully this helps, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye-bye.